Hello, my name is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit strange, but that nothing can stop what's coming. Coming right up. Okay, so I was thinking about a phrase that many of you in the 17 community have asked this question, and it's nothing can stop what's coming. And I kind of thought a little bit about this, but I kind of want to give you a couple biblical points here. So I just want, I was just in a conference, and there's this friend of mine named Sue Riddell, and she talks about an interesting facet of Jesus's cadre. So you think about the disciples, okay? And Judas was well known as, Jesus knew from the time he brought him over that Judas was going to betray him. And he was also about the money. So the real, there's a few points about Judas throughout it, but there's two main areas where we get really jiggy about Judas. The first one is Mary, this woman that comes in and bawls and cries over Jesus's feet and rinses it out, her off with her hair, puts oil on his feet. I mean, she does this gorgeous act. And then Judas, who really didn't care about this, he didn't care about the money necessarily. He was like, well, we could have given that to the poor. And Jesus rebukes him pretty strongly. Now, we know about Judas, how he gets the 30 coins and, betrays Jesus with a kiss, and then they take him away. And then as Judas realizes what he did, he is one of the first examples, or at least that I know of, there might be others, of someone who suicides at that moment in time. Now, think about this. He's the accountant, and he didn't care about this. But I want you to think about this. From a couple different areas, you say, well, wait a second. What is it about Judas? Did he not know that did he feel like he could stop this issue? And the reality is there's nothing that anyone could do from stopping Jesus from dying, because it was part of the plan to allow Jesus to die. Or frankly, Jesus had to allow himself to be killed. See, no one could actually kill him because the angels would actually jump in the middle of it. If you realize, even through the process, when you go back in John 19 and other verses, chapters there too, but that's just my favorite one to talk about with the death of Jesus. There was absolutely nothing that they could stop what was really coming. And it was opposite of what the world thought of. Just think about that for a second. The world thought, specifically the people around Jesus, thought that they should stop him being killed. He had to be killed so that he could rise from the dead. It was way part of the plan. There's another verse in Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. It says that there's nothing new under the sun. And actually that's repeated many times in Ecclesiastes. It talks about there's nothing new. And so the reality around us, there isn't anything new necessarily. But what we're walking into is a time frame of renewal. It's not going to be like a Millennial Reign renewal. That's just stupid. That's anti-biblical conversations when we talk about Nasara. But there's going to be a renewal time frame that will occur from this. I want to throw something else out at you. I'm using a whole bunch of different verses and different ideas. So Satan interacts with Jesus after he's baptized by John the Baptist. And Satan, Jesus goes into the desert. So Satan kind of comes up with him in different ways, pokes at him in different ways, especially after he's very, very hungry, right? So they wait the 40 days before he finds him at his weak spot. And he's always looking for that opportune time to change Judas or Jesus's mind And Satan's always looking for that. But once he puts him down, Jesus puts him down, he says, I'm not doing that no matter what you say. Then Satan was looking for the opportune time to kill him. So, that was coming into play. But Satan had no idea what was going to come after he died. See, once we come after he died, there was nothing that was going to stop the resurrection of Christ. So that is just a thought. These are just mirrors of a time frame that is powerful, that is set by God. And if we can't stop what's happening in the world, and we look at all these things and we're so frustrated by them, and I get it. I'm frustrated by this stuff too, the corruption and the disgusting things, the injustice. We talk about justice. We want the court systems. We want the government to do the right things. They don't have any unction to do the right thing. They don't have any desire to do the right thing. You see, what has to come up is that the sins have to rise to a particular level where the world and God goes, you know what, that's a point where I just can't deal with it. And you go, wait a second, how can he deal with any sin? He doesn't. But when it gets to a point where there's just complete corruption, like Sodom and Gomorrah, like the Noah flood, when it gets to this place, that's where you have to say, enough is enough. And we're seeing a part of that today. The world can't figure this out. They don't know what's happening. It's not because we're not smart enough to do it, but I'm telling you, there are forces below the surface that you're misunderstanding if you're trying to figure this stuff out. And I get it. I get the feeling, but we just got to be calm. This is going to play out in a sort of unique way. And I keep going back to the verses that are very difficult to actually explain in the now time frame, before, through the church age, and then even into the tribulation or the millennial reign afterward. These verses bothered me so much. So in Psalms 91, I believe it's in verse 7, it says that you will see with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked. Now, most people think that that is a time frame in the tribulation. Now, the reality is the tribulation isn't about punishment. It's about bringing people to Christ. People get that so messed up. They see the 21 different judgments, and they call them judgments, but what they really are is decision points. They're points to turn people to Christ. Now, at the very end, when all the believers are gone, other than a few that will come to Christ at the very end of the time frame, and those are the people that go into the millennial reign, which is part of my teaching on the Hope in the Last Days series. Here's what happens. That's when the earth is going through an atonement. In atonement, what you do is that they would take a hot rock and touch it to your lips. I mean, it just burns things. What it does, you're dealing with taking the destruction of everything. You see, you're refixing it all. You see, it's kind of like when you have a F5 tornado. So you have an F5 tornado that can get down to the foundation. But an F4 tornado kind of gets it to the place where really you can't build upon that. You can't use any of the structure parts other than the foundation. So a foundation will be taken out with an F5, but an F4 actually goes down, and then even if you tried to build the walls the way that they were after that destructive tornado, you really can't. You might as well just rip it off, start with the foundation points, and build the top of that. And that's what I think is going to happen when we get to that very end point. So some people think, well, we're going to witness the punishment of the wicked. No, we're not. Okay? We're in heaven doing a different thing. Those verses have no reference in the tribulation. And I know people will disagree with me, but I've studied this for 36 years. I have that whole series. I have books that have written about this, but nothing has ever really fixed that particular time frame. but we're about to see witnessing the punishment of the wicked. The wicked, and it's going to be much like the Nuremberg trials in 1946, but it's even going to be on a grander scale because we really didn't fix the corruption that was happening. We brought that in through Operation Paperclip. And we brought in all the grossness into America, and we really never flushed it out. And I think we're going to find a time frame when we see this, and it will open it up in a unique way. So I really recommend just calm down, just hold on, because it is true. If we couldn't stop anything throughout the history of man, because God set it up, can you really stop what's coming? Nope. So if you like what we're talking about here, leave some comments. I'm sure we're going to get all kinds of comments all over the place with that stuff too. And happy to answer those questions. Thank you so much.